Wait for it to come up on. Oh, what is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of the Slide Job Podcast. Jenny was unable to make it again today, but guess who's back? Your favorite person on the podcast, Devin, right here. And I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. But today we're going to be talking about New Hampshire recap, kind of going over what happened and some sad news in the Xfinity Series and some interesting news for the 2020 silly season. I'm going to go ahead. I missed the first two stages, so I'm going to go ahead and let Devin over here recap it.
Yeah, no problem. So basically, if you ended up missing stage one, stage two of this race, stage one and stage two are pretty much polar opposites of each other. I mean, the first stage of this race is pretty much exactly what I expected out of New Hampshire. We ended up taking the green flag. Brad Keselowski, he was on the pole. It looked like that he was going to pull away with it through the first turn, but then Kyle Busch did Kyle Busch things and somehow got the lead from the bottom, which I don't think anyone else did during the entire race. I don't know about the third stage, but at least from the restarts I saw, nobody else was able to take the lead from the bottom other than Kyle Busch at the very start of the race. So he ended up taking the lead. He took off. He's gone. Kyle Busch is just gone. He runs away with the stage. Nobody is touching him. So that ends up what happens. The only real interesting thing that ended up happening during that stage is Austin Dillon ended up blowing two tires. Not just one, but two tires during that stage. So he ends up blowing a tire, hitting the wall. And then I guess they didn't get the fender fixed because they went back out there. They blew a second tire. So I guess they really needed to make sure, hey, let's get this fender fixed. So that ended up happening. Then we end up going green stage two. And things start getting a little bit crazier now because now we're starting to get some diverging strategies. We've got some people not taking tires, got some people taking two tires. So that ends up shaking up a few things. We end up getting Kurt Busch up in the top five again because he's completely infallible at this point in the season. Good God. I really don't know what Kurt Busch has been doing, but we'll see what ends up happening to later on in the race because I don't see him anywhere here in the top 15. So I don't know what ended up happening to him. But then the next yellow of the race, what ends up happening, Chase Elliott basically blows a motor. He ends up leaking oil on the track. Daniel Suarez decides to run directly through it, running out of all of his talent that he may or may not have had. And he takes another driver who just screams future superstar, Daniel Hemrick. And they end up both spinning through turns 1 and 2, bringing us back underneath the yellow. And the more diverging strategies end up happening here. And this just creates chaos on the restarts. Things start getting absolutely insane on the restarts. We don't get a wreck on the restart yet, but we will get there. We continue to go on, and then we go on for another few laps. I think by this time, Kyle Busch ended up going towards the rear of the field due to these diverging strategies, and we end up having Denny Hamlin start to take control of the race, and he starts to take control of the race for a large majority of the rest of the race. So the next major incident that ends up happening is that we get Erik Jones. He's racing really hard. He's got to make it into the playoffs. He's got to break into the playoffs here. He's right on the cut line. He's running Ricky Stenhouse really hard. He's running him really hard. He runs him too hard, runs right up into Ricky Stenhouse's left front, ends up creating a tire rub. And then Stenhouse ends up blowing both tires and it pounds the outside wall coming out of turn 2 actually pretty hard. I'm actually pretty glad that he's okay with that because he hit that wall a ton coming there out of turn 2. So Stenhouse, he's in a must-win situation. He's 46 points out of the chase. And now with another DNF, he is in a must-win situation. Like there's absolutely zero chance of him getting in on points now. He's absolutely got to win at this point. So now he's starting to get really desperate. Now this comes towards the end of the stage. So now we end up getting a restart and things go absolutely ballistic. I don't remember if it was this restart, but the next restart. But one of the two restarts, Aric Almirola ends up sandbagging. I think it was the second restart. Aric Almirola ends up sandbagging the start. He pumps the brakes right before he ends up getting to the end of the restart zone, and he takes off and bottlenecks the entire outside line. As far as what I see and what I understand of the NASCAR rules, it's completely within the rule book, but NASCAR told them, no, you're not doing that. And seems like NASCAR Twitter also eschewed him for it. So I guess Aric Almirola is not going to be doing that in the future, but Martin Truex can do it whenever he wants, whatever. So what ends up happening is a couple laps later, Kyle Busch and Paul Menard, they're running the outside line. They end up getting too far on the outside. They both smack the outside wall, bottleneck the outside lane. What ends up happening now is that Clint Bowyer and Martin Truex Jr., they're even further back in that outside line. They end up getting together off of turn 4, and that's not good for Bowyer or Truex. Well, not necessarily Truex because he's pretty safe right now, but Bowyer is now, he's now taken out of this race because of this wreck. He is done. So Bowyer gets turned into the outside wall. It's not looking good for Bowyer now, and all I got to say is it's looking pretty good for Cole Custer to go into that 14 car next season. And then, like I said, there ended up being that restart where Aric Almirola bottlenecked the outside lane. He takes off, wins stage 2. Great job by Almirola to do that. I think Ryan Newman ended up getting like 3rd or something as well. Ryan Newman had a hell of a day. And so now we're starting to creep here into stage 3 as we continue to have crazy racing. So while we're in the break between stage 2 and 3, Ricky Stenhouse, he ends up getting an interview. Why they'd interview him, I don't know. But they ended up interviewing Ricky Stenhouse, and it made it sound like that he's going to pay back Erik Jones. The only time that Stenhouse is going to be anywhere close to Erik Jones is going to be at Bristol, and yeah, that's not going to happen. So we'll see. I don't think that Ricky Stenhouse will ever be close to Erik Jones in order to wreck him, but we'll find out. Anyways, we're back green at the end of stage 2. Pit stops ended up happening. It puts Denny Hamlin out in front because he stayed out at the end of the stage. He's out front. He takes off again. He is the dominator for pretty much the entire time. I think the top 3 ended up being him, then Keselowski 2nd, and then Kurt Busch 3rd for 75 laps in a row, I'm pretty sure. And there was that long green flag run. So Jimmy Johnson ended up losing power steering. That's never fun. But more notably is that Ryan Newman, he ends up going down a cylinder during this. And like I said, he was having a phenomenal run. He was inside the top 5 at some point, and because of the pit cycle, he ends up dropping back to 13th, 14th, 15th. He's sliding back bit by bit. Faster cars are getting around him because of the fresh tires. And then he ends up going down a cylinder. Well, it happens to be his lucky day because they were able to diagnose it, and they're like, hey, we're figured out this ended up just being a broken wire. We can end up fixing this if we end up getting a yellow flag. They figured that out in the first yellow flag. So here's what happened during the first yellow flag is that you have Kyle Busch thinking that he's Superman, and he just shotguns it into turn number 1 and loses it. I don't know what the hell he was trying to do. He's racing absolutely nobody, but he just sends it into turn 1. He's following Ryan Blaney. He just loses it. He corrects it, but then he gets into the marbles and right into the wall he ends up going. This ruins Kyle Busch's day as far as I understand. So he's upset. So that ends up bringing out a yellow flag, which I don't really think a yellow flag needed to be brought out for that incident, but yeah, whatever. So then another yellow flag immediately precedes it on a restart. Like I said, chaos ends up happening. Kyle Larson tries to make a move to the inside of Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman slams the door shut on him. Larson spins out. I mean, there's really nothing much to say there. Bowman held his line. Larson tried to go lower than Bowman, and they just ran out of room to run. Larson had to turn up. And when Larson turned up, instead of turning Bowman, he turned himself. So a really up and down season for Larson continues here. And obviously the McDonald's curse also continues for the 42 squad. And during that caution, the 6 team, they were able to repair the motor, get the car back to full power, and get it back on the track while still being on the lead lap. So a phenomenal job by the 6 team to get that car back out there. And this is where I send it over to you because I had to go pick up my sister.
Yeah, so right after Larson wrecked is really when I actually started watching. So it's really like clockwork. I believe. Would you happen to know how many laps were left?
Let's see here. 80 to go.
80 to go. Okay, so really it was just Hamlin leading for most of that. I don't think there was really much interesting stuff that happened in that time period. And then another caution would come out. I believe that was due to I'm not sure who the caution was for, but there was a caution. I was kind of like I was listening to it, so I wasn't full on watching.
Looks like Larson went for a second spin.
Oh, Larson was okay. That's why I was confused when you said the Larson wreck was that. I guess there was two because I came in right
Larson
after
went for a second spin.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. So then Larson gets another wreck, and then there's strategy out the wazoo. You got Kevin Harvick, Erik Jones, to name a few, taking no tires. Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, and some others taking 2 tires. I believe Kyle Busch in 10th place was the leader of the 4-tire crew, and I'm not really sure who all took 4 tires, but that was your differing strategies, and really the no tires would prevail for Kevin Harvick. Harvick would be able to hold off Hamlin as the times got closer and closer, and he would have the lead, and going about 5 to go, Hamlin would start making advances. Some lap traffic was in play, and Harvick was able to hold him off. And then we get to the last lap. Hamlin shoves him up the track. Harvick's able to not completely die and hold on next to Denny Hamlin going into turn 3. Harvick decides to go on the inside, which I think Hamlin was planning on going on the inside, which means he had to change his line and go on the outside. And then Harvick was able to hold off Hamlin coming out of turn 4. A little bit of a block, but I mean, you're going for a win, so it's not too crazy or chop off, if you will.
I just saw a replay.
And then
I just saw a replay of the finish.
Yeah. And then he would go on to Harvick would go on to get his first win of the season.
It's about time Stuart Haas won a race.
Oh yeah, it's
Good Lord.
Basically past the 2/3 way of the regular season. So yeah, that's definitely. I don't think anybody saw them taking this long to get a win, and nobody saw the 77 winning before them.
Yeah, well, nobody saw the 77 winning before him, but yeah, it looked like just a phenomenal move here. Kevin Harvick, he's the best driver of the decade, pretty much undisputedly. You might make an argument for Kyle Busch, but it's really Ben Harvick has been the dominant driver of the decade. And he just proved, even though Stuart Haas, they haven't necessarily had the speed to go out there and win. Him and Rodney Childers, they've made a great, great pairing there with that 4 crew. And this finish really more than proved how good Kevin Harvick is, because it looks like, Hamlin, he's here on the outside. It looks like he's going to have a huge advantage coming off the corner. And then Harvick ends up just getting into the gas, sliding up the track a little bit, ends up getting into Hamlin, which gets Hamlin loose. Hamlin's got to get out of the throttle so he doesn't wreck. And that ended up giving Harvick the win. Like, it was a phenomenal move there by Kevin Harvick defending that win. Great job. It was great racing by both of them.
Yeah, really great race. And that'll segue into our thoughts on the racing. I'd say for New Hampshire, this was really one of the better races I can remember at New Hampshire. And if I were to rate it, I'd say probably a 60 or a 70, somewhere in between there. I mean, maybe that's a little bit high. Yeah. I don't know.
I think,
go ahead.
The first stage of this race really bogged it down for me because, like I said, nothing really interesting happened. Shrub dominated, Lil Shrub pretty much was the first stage. So that, if it was just the first stage for all 3 stages, it probably would have gotten about a 0 in my book. Yeah, or pretty damn close to a 0. But I don't like to go as low as a 0. If we could go to negatives or Pocono, we could, but I don't think it was that bad. But stage 2 really elevated this race for me. I really missed a lot of stage 3. I know it really wasn't intriguing for much of the third stage leading up to the incident that ended up happening between Boyer and Jones. Before that, there really wasn't too much intrigue. There really wasn't too much intrigue before that. So stage 2 was phenomenal. Really elevates the race up. I would give it somewhere in the range of 65 to 70, just based on the second stage and this finish where we end up having this final restart, the diverging strategies, and Kevin Harvick just being the true veteran that he is, getting the job done and finally getting that win.
Yeah, that was definitely a great finish, and really, I would say it's up there. Not with Kentucky, in my opinion, is the best finish, but it's up there with the top 5, top 8 finishes this year. But moving on to the results here, we'll just go through. Obviously, Harvick won, Hamlin second. He was up front all day. He's been somewhat inconsistent this year, so he had a really great race here. Erik Jones, I mean, that's his second. He hit third place last weekend, if I'm not mistaken. He knows he's on the hot seat right now, yeah, and he's getting results. I mean, yeah, it's not wins, but he's getting results. He's definitely aided that that playoff run he's trying to make here. I think he went up to like 28 points above the cutoff line now. We'll get to that when we talk about the standings here, but a great showing for Erik Jones. Ryan Blaney, he was actually kind of seen after we got through the practice and stuff. I forget who I even picked as a dark horse. Blaney, he was like kind of my dark horse going in the race. He had a great practice session. He had the fastest 10-lap average, and he got 4th place. He had a fast car this weekend, and it's been a while since he's kind of had a race like this where he's not had something happen to him. So glad to see him get 4th, or he wasn't just middle pack. Matt DiBenedetto and that 95 car, where did he come from? Like, where did he come from? I mean, he just kind of appeared. I'm not sure if he took 2 and kind of got up there, but 5th place, definitely great. He's another one on the hot seat, making it hard for Joe Gibbs to put Christopher Bell in the 95 car, because the results he's been getting as of recent, obviously not the beginning of the season, but as of recent, he has maybe push the needle a little bit back to where he might be able to keep his ride for another year if they don't get the 59. Martin Truex Jr. 6th place here. I couldn't tell you what he's really done all day. I mean, it sounds like from what you said, he had a kind of a comeback to get 6th, and just a good day for him. Ryan Newman, crazy day from what you explained. I did hear about his engine issues, and I thought he was done, and then here he is in 7th. So once again, proving he's the best Roush car and or driver, whatever team, the best Roush team, and really doing better than he was in that 31 car last season. So a great day for Newman. I mean, he had a top 5 car, like you said. I believe that I almost said Kurt, but that's Kyle in the 18 and 8th place. I can't really say much about him. I mean, it's a quiet race for his standards. He said he tried to be Superman in turn 1. Did not work out too well, and still salvaged an 8th place finish. Let's see, 9th place, Joey Logano here. I see, when you don't watch the race, you can't really like recap their day. So he got 9th place. Shout out to him. And then Keselowski in 10th.
Yeah. Well, Logano really had a quiet race in general. He was pretty much in the 15th to 20th position pretty much all day, because he was one of those people that ended up needing to start towards the rear, and there was a lot of them because there was a lot of practice issues. But yeah, Joey Logano just really had a quiet day and just ended up sneaking into the top 10.
And Keselowski, I believe, was the pole sitter.
Yep, like I said, Keselowski was the pole sitter. He had a fast car all day, but as you said, there were some diverging strategies towards the end. Keselowski did not pick the right one, but as far as I understand, he was up in 2nd. No, he was running 2nd when I left. So,
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, he was running 2nd. So I don't know exactly what ended up happening when Keselowski ended up falling back. I'm guessing it's due to those diverging strategies. But I figured that Keselowski was going to have a very fast car today. Not fast enough to lead, clearly, but he did have a decent car.
Moving on to 10th through 20th. Eric Almirola, 11th. He won stage 2. He was up front. He won stage 2. I believe that was a little bit of strategy. Had a hand in that, but still, he seemed to have a fast car. 11th place. He's got a pretty comfortable spot here in the playoff race, so should not just kind of quiet. William Byron, 12th. I honestly have no clue what he did all day. Again, a quiet race.
Not much.
Paul Menard, 13th. He's been consistent. That's really all he ever has been, and a little bit of above average finish for that 21 team. Also, I probably put that in the notes, but we need to talk about the Menard Burton situation later on. Alex Bowman, 14th. You know what? I think this guy could have finished 20th and just would have been happy that he finished the race. The weekend he's had, the 14th, Alex Bowman, just congratulations. Good job. Like you, as long as you finish the race, I think we can give him a pass this weekend for being a little bit mediocre. I think we can give him a pass for that, considering the weekend he has had. I think we can give him a pass for that. Chris Buescher, he was up in the top 5 at one point, I believe, and kind of just faded.
Yes,
I think
he
was one that maybe took no tires. I don't know. No, that was in stage 2. Or no,
yeah,
was he?
Chris. No, he was up in the top 5 in stage 2, and I got to tell you what, and I keep on saying this, but man, this 37 team, they are really getting their stuff together. They've been doing a fantastic job in that Chevrolet group. Obviously, this isn't Chevrolet's day today. Whenever the best finishing Chevrolet is William Byron, Chevrolet had a really bad day. But yeah, Chris Buescher up here in the top 15. He was running in the top 5, top 10 actually for a good part of stage 2 as well. So it wasn't just strategy. Like, he had a decent amount of speed behind him. He had a really fantastic car behind him. Just didn't seem to pan out there towards the end, but that 37 car is getting better every week.
Mm-hmm. And looking at the chat here, 2020 NASCAR Stop Motion Series says, why do you have not many subs? And I don't know. I guess I'm kind of fairly new to the community. At least consistently, I did have a little run, but I don't know. It's just got a gain of fan base. If you haven't subscribed already, you should, because that could help in having more than not many subs. So, but yeah, I don't know.
Let's get them more.
Yeah, let's get more. Just working on that. But going back to the results here, Ty Dillon 16th. Great finish for that team. I mean, they've definitely improved from the dumpster fire that they were last year. I mean, they were
they were bad. 25th average finish, pretty sure.
Yeah, pretty bad average finish there. Michael McDowell, above average finish, 17th. 18th, Kurt Busch. I feel like he had a faster car than 18th. I think he was actually 3rd at one point in the race.
Yeah, like I was saying with Kurt Busch, he was 3rd when I left. So I have no idea what ended up happening to Kurt Busch. He was in the top 5 all day.
Yeah,
so I don't know what happened with him.
Yeah. 19th, Daniel Suarez. You said he lost talent. Seems to be a running theme after his Xfinity championship. Clint Boyer, 20th. I think that's a good day considering he was in a wreck. So I don't know how severe the wreck was, but I guess it's okay. Not good for his playoff at all. Not at all good for his playoff run, but at least he didn't DNF like the other playoff contenders. Well, I guess they actually all have wins who wrecked out, but it's like, okay, we'll talk about that later.
Larson doesn't have a win yet.
Oh yeah, Larson does, and Stenhouse does, and Hemrick does. Oh yeah, he's not really.
Hemrick ain't making the playoffs unless he wins.
But yeah, that's your top 20 there. Anything you gotta say about our top 20?
Well, not necessarily the people that finish inside the top 20, but the people that finish outside of the top 30. We've got a lot of names here that didn't miss
names. Before we get into that,
let's go here.
RB says he just slowed down. Is that regarding to Suarez, Busch, probably Busch, because he was up in the top 3. I'm assuming that's regarding to Suarez, but
yeah.
On to your point, kind of some notables outside here. Bubba 22nd. I mean, it's better than he was running in the beginning of the season. I mean, obviously it's not god tier talent, but I mean, 22nd is better. I mean, above average, like I've been saying. Ryan Preece 21st. I kind of leapfrogged him. I mean, not a bad finish for him. Matt Tiff 24th. What? Matt Tiff. I didn't even know he was in the sport about till about a month ago. So shout out to Matt Tiff.
Yeah, I love
Ross Chastain 25th.
I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of Front Row Motorsports, man. So when I saw that Matt Tiff was going to go to that 36 car, I was like, you know what? I think it's a big risk, but let's see what this kid's able to do. He did pretty good in that 2 car in the Xfinity series, so let's see what Tiff can do here in the 36. And it's been a roller coaster. I mean, you got to consider that's the BK racing car.
Yeah, and it has improved as of recent, I would say.
Yeah, that's the BK racing car. So
moving on, Evan Castle 26. I mean, again, I guess it's because there's so many people at DNF and we're like 10 laps down is why these guys are so high. And Dr. Seuss, I mean, sorry, my bad. Seuss. I'm not even going to try and look up his first name, but Dr. Seuss finished.
Andy Seuss.
Andy. And then Chase Elliott 29th. I mean, didn't he have like a issue? I'm not sure. You're going to have to explain what happened to him.
He had a mechanical, like I said earlier on in the race, sometime in stage 2, he ended up having a mechanical failure. Suarez ended up slipping in the oil in it. And that's really explained what kind of a week that the entire Hendrick Motorsports stable had. It was rough.
It was definitely a rough week. Jimmy Johnson right behind him in 30th. Quinn Hoof in 31st. Sorry, I just like saying Hoof. Austin Dillon in 32nd. Like you said, he blew 2 tires, which takes talent, to say the least. Kyle Larson DNF'd in 33rd. Definitely not the week they wanted. In the slightest, they definitely need to find some consistency in that 42 car. And David Reagan was running and finished in 34th behind Larson, who DNF'd. I'm not sure what happened to Reagan, but
I can go ahead and look that up.
And then Stenhouse and Hemrick. Stenhouse, like you said, he's in a must-win situation as it was. It just became even more must-win. And Daniel Hemrick 37th. I mean, Priest finished better than them, so that's not good for the rookie race.
Well, it looks like that David Reagan lost brakes.
Oh, okay.
Not a good track to lose brakes at.
Not a very good track to lose brakes at. No. Moving on to the 2019 standings. After New Hampshire, Logano is still your leader by just 3 points over Kyle Busch in second place. Kevin Harvick third. He now has a win, so if he didn't think he was going to get in, he is now for sure getting in. If you were one of the 2 people that maybe were just wishful thinking. No offense to Harvick there. I don't know why. Some people just don't like Harvick. I'm not the biggest Harvick fan either. But anyways, Hamlin fourth. He has 669 points. Thought I'd point that out. He's just kind of a little bit ways back. And also Harvick is about 100 points behind Busch and Logano. So they've kind of ran away with that points lead. Hamlin, like I said, Hamlin fourth, Keselowski fifth, Truex sixth, Kurt Busch seventh. He is currently the leading Chevy with Chase Elliott about 20 points behind him in eighth. Eric Almirola ninth, Alex Bowman 10th, and then Blaney 11th. And then Byron's got a pretty good cushion here in 12th. Larson kind of lost that cushion here today. I think he got some stage points, so it's not totally terrible. Here's where we're kind of getting into the bubble a little bit here. Erik Jones 14th. He had a great day. Obviously finished third. Got some stage points. All in all, had a pretty good day and got some cushion in front of that 16th place. He is about, I can't do math, so we'll say about 30 points roughly. But I think 28 is actually 28. See, I can do math. 28 points above Jimmy Johnson, who is in 17th, which we'll get into in a second. Ryan Newman. Ryan Newman.
I was cheering for him all day, man. I am so psyched.
He's really turned it around. I mean, he was like somebody who's we were just happy to see him, in playoff contention. Now he is in the playoffs with about a 20-point cushion on Jimmy Johnson in 17th. So great day for Newman, great season for Newman, and he has 180 that 6 car. I think I said that last week, but
yeah, he has done a phenomenal job with that 6 car, man. And it's been ever since Edwards has left, it has been a really rough time for Roush fans. I'm a huge Roush fan. I am a devout Roush fan, and I got to tell you what. Trevor Bayne and Ricky Stenhouse being in those 2 cars. Oh my God. You cannot possibly have hope when your 2 drivers are Ricky Stenhouse and Trevor Bayne. We finally got rid of one of them. Matt Kenseth came back to the car, won a stage, did decently. I don't want to say he did good, because the first few races he ended up having an average finish like 25th, but then he started to get it better. Now Ryan Newman's up here. I think his average finish is going to improve to like 13th. 13th for a team that had an average finish worse than 20th last season. 13th. That's awesome. Ryan Newman, I was a little skeptical of having Ryan Newman in there, but I thought about it for a minute. I was like, you know what? That's a good pick. He's not going to go out there. He's not going to tear up equipment. He's not a young driver that's unproven. He is a proven veteran driver. He's going to get there. He's going to give them good data, give them good feedback. It's probably going to be an overall improvement to this team. I was not expecting playoffs out of him. Not by any stretch of the imagination was I expecting any playoffs out of this team. And now we're, 5 races away from the playoffs, and it absolutely can happen.
I mean, it's actually more than likely, in my opinion, unless he just completely falls off these next 5 races. But we've got a comment here from Carnby. Sorry if I said that wrong, Carnby. Kyle Larson just lost grip. He went to the wall 3 times. Every time his back right just kept giving up. So it looks like that was the issue for Larson. That's just unfortunate. It just must have been something mechanical with that car. The right side
was once he ended up getting that contact with Bowman.
Yeah, that was probably
the car.
And then moving on, right on the cutoff line, Clint Boyer. But yet even though the pretty bad day that he had, he finished 20th, which is better than Johnson could say. That was able to keep him in the top 16. And he is about, of course, have to do math again, a little under 20 points above Jimmy Johnson in 17th. Johnson, DNF'd. He is out. I believe he was in or right on the cutoff line last week. He has lost kind of the closeness of the 16th position in points. And it's a legit, just like Ryan Newman. It looks like he might not make the playoffs. I mean, he's going to have. I mean, by no stretch of imagination am I saying he won't. He definitely can turn it around here. He definitely can't DNF again, or else it could be the end. He's got it. He's right there. Daniel Suarez tied with Jimmy Johnson. He has to turn it on here. Paul Menard, where did you come from?
Paul Menard.
I think he's been there, but he's 40 points back. He's got to win. Same with Ricky Stenhouse. Chris Buescher, despite having such a great season, is just 21st. He's got it. I mean, we're at Pocono next week. Who knows?
It's his lucky track.
Is it gonna rain? Who knows?
Oh well, I can tell you that we're out
here.
We are now out of that. We are now out of that weather pattern where we've been just getting rain every single day.
A week just for Chris Buescher.
Rain for Buescher.
Looking at the chat here again, Carnby says 88 was another one. He's going through tires as well. I was surprised he didn't blow any all race. Yeah, well, he finished, and that's crazy.
All that matters because Bowman.
That's all that matters to him.
Here's what happened with Bowman. He ends up breaking a damn drive shaft on his first car, so they got to go up to a backup car. And Bowman ended up doing the same thing that Kyle Busch did in the race, just tried to Superman it in a turn one, and he loses it. So he destroys. So his drive shaft's broken on his primary. He destroys his backup. He has to take one of Jimmy Johnson's backup cars, which he has no familiarity with. He gets busted for speeding on the first pit stop.
Yeah, that was something else. That
Like, it was a struggle for Alex Bowman. He ends up coming out of that 14th with all the stuff that he ended up going through, man. That is a good finish for what Bowman needed to go through, because man, he needed to go through a lot. What a dumpster fire weekend he had. Good Lord. I guess he could have put it in the wall. That would be really bad. He could have put it in the wall. All right, so moving along here.
all right, I'm back. Yep. Ty Dillon, 23rd. I mean, he's like way back early in the season. It's kind of Matty Benedetto, 24th. Like we said earlier, he's on the hot seat right now. And he's got to keep, if he keeps up, if he races, I mean, I don't expect me another top 5, but if he just races the way he has been the last couple of weeks, maybe gets another top 25 or top 25. Top 5. Maybe he's able to stay in that ride for another year. I mean, he's proven when he has the car, like he did today, he gets results. And if not with the 95, maybe another team will give him an opportunity.
Yep. So I remember making a prediction. I'm pretty sure it was a prediction of Matt Benedetto having the most wins this season. That definitely has not happened. That has not worked out.
It's not been
I thought the 95 was just going to dominate everything. That is not been the case. Yeah, wishful thinking is probably the best way to describe that.
And if Benedetto was a driver, he could do that. I feel like the 90
he can do it.
The team itself developing, getting used to the new Toyota, and it looks like they have made that change, and it looks like performances have gone up in recent weeks, and it looks like who knows, maybe around playoff time they could maybe even be a couple levels below those Joe Gibbs cars. I mean, it's not out of the question that they could make a transformation to Furniture Row. Hopefully not an ending like Furniture Row, but
yeah, well, they could absolutely get up there and do that. Why Furniture Row decided to just shut down, even though that they were doing, even though I know that they were looking for sponsorship, but at the same time, why they just decided to suddenly shut down when they have been a dumpster fire team before is beyond me. I'm guessing they probably would have had a ton of staff.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I don't know. That just doesn't make much sense to me. I would, if I had a chance to run a team in the Cup Series, I would still go ahead and do it, even if I didn't have the backing. Even if you had to let a few people go, it sucks, but sometimes that's just the way it has to be. But I don't make the decisions; they do. They know better than I do.
Another comment here from Carnby. Thank you for being so active. You make this a lot of fun. He said it's going to rain. I am Western Pennsylvania. I've been seeing a lot of severe weather as of late, so Pocono might get it, screw the race up, might make it interesting, hard to say. If all races for there to be a rain delay, maybe Pocono would be one I'm okay with because it's better than just racing, honestly.
I am not okay with a rain delay at Pocono. They start the race. First off, they start the race at 3:00, which makes no sense.
True, and then they probably don't have lights there, but
they do not have lights there.
Yeah, but
right now it's actually looking okay for weather, but we'll see how it changes.
So yeah, that's really about it here for the points, unless you want to talk about Mr. Ryan Truex here in 58th, which I don't think
many
people care about.
Ryan Truex deserves precisely 0 of my attention.
Quickly moving on here. Again, I didn't put this in the notes, but let's look at the Xfinity standings here. They are 12 people make to the playoffs in there. Tyler Reddick first. He's, like we said last week, he's just consistent. Didn't have the best start to the race. I mean, he was just average at the beginning. Guess what, guys? I think y'all can guess it. He found his way in third again. How does he do it? And
Just finish third every week.
I know this is going to sound crazy, but guess who was the top three? Christopher Bell, Cole Custer, and Tyler Reddick. Wow. Who would have guessed? I don't think anybody saw that coming in the slightest.
Not me.
And would you look at that? Top three in the point standings: Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, Cole Custer. But on a serious note, Justin Allgaier in fourth place with a grand total in points of 666.
Nice.
He is 100 points behind Tyler Reddick. He's about just a little over or a little under 100 points behind Bell and Custer. Cindric in fifth. He's been the more consistent, I would say. I think Allgaier has been a little less consistent than Cindric, but he's in front of him, so maybe not. Just stage points. Who knows? I don't watch Xfinity week in and week out, so I can't really make a.
I'll give you this one. Allgaier has 4 DNFs. Cindric has 1.
Yeah, that's what I was. Something to do with DNFs, I would say. So Noah Gragson in sixth. I mean, that he's definitely he's improved. He's improved on the season. No, and I think people were a little unfair to him, expecting him to come into the Xfinity series the way he left the Truck series. You know, I mean, he didn't get a lot of wins, but he was consistently a top 3 driver in that series. I mean, it takes time, and I think Gragson seems to be getting better, and I don't know if by the end of the season he will be where we think he will, but I think by next season we'll see a much improved Noah Gragson. He seems to just need a year, to get the hang of things on a weekly basis, and seems to be working out for him. Chase Briscoe 7th. I don't know. He seems to kind of show up here and there. Michael Annett 8th. I mean, what the heck? Where did this come from? He's had a great season. I mean, for him, he's had an okay season for regular standards, but Annett has gone from somebody we saw as complete dumpster fire, a complete bust, to somebody who actually looks to be semi-deserving of that number 1 car. I mean, I know that's crazy to say, but he's got 5 top 5s on the season, more than his teammate Noah Gragson can say. And he when he doesn't get a top 5, he probably doesn't do too well, but still a great season for Michael Annett, and he's really changed my mind on my opinion. I was like, why is he still in the sport at the beginning of the season? And now I'm like, okay, I mean, if you want to keep him there, keep him there. He's got a good sponsorship, so I don't think he'll be out of that ride anytime soon. Justin Haley, your Daytona 500 champion.
Really?
400 champion. Yeah.
Oh, really?
He's there. He obviously a little taken out of context when you say he's a Cup winner and. But
he's a Cup winner. And he is an established 100% true and tried Cup winner. He is 9th. He is 9th in Xfinity. And guess what? All 8 drivers in front of him have precisely 0 Cup wins. So that just shows you how hard it is to go from Cup to Xfinity and succeed.
But I mean, but on a real note, Haley has been doing really good for that 11 car, better than Ryan Truex was doing, which, hey, we actually mentioned him. John Hunter. Is it John Hunter Nemechek?
Yeah, it is John Hunter Nemechek.
Okay. I don't know. I can't think of his name at the time.
Yeah.
Because I always think of Joe Nemechek, his dad. Yeah. But 10th place for Nemechek. He's in that GMS team, which, they're good in the Truck series, but I think their Xfinity series was to be desired. But it looks like
they're not fantastic. They're actually running last year's body.
Right. They are. But hey, he's in 10th place. He's doing well, outperforming his equipment, and I think GMS at some point will turn the curve. It's just kind of like low-key what I said with Gragson, just in a different context, is they just need to develop, get money. They seem to be getting good results with this driver. So Ryan Sieg.
Ryan Sieg.
Look at him. He's making his
They
own cars. 11th
Yep.
and 11 of them points right now. Looking pretty comfy. Well, I
owner
wouldn't say.
driver in 11th. Go
Yeah,
Ryan Sieg.
yeah. He's looking pretty comfy to make it to the next round. And Brandon Jones, what the heck, man? You're literally behind somebody who makes his own cars.
Yeah,
I mean,
I look at the name Brandon Jones. I immediately have to go, who? Like, I don't know who this Brandon Jones guy is. And everybody talks about him as like some kind of terrible driver, which I guess, yeah, if he's running for Joe Gibbs and he's 12th in points, he can't be that great. But, everyone talks about Brandon Jones. I'm like, I've never heard of this Brandon Jones guy before. And I guess that's the reason why, because he sucks.
he does. Well, I hate to say it, but in recent weeks he hasn't been abysmal. He's had a couple top 3 runs, but again, he hasn't been abysmal to his regular standards. But Greg Galding, and really, I would say the top 12 is pretty well locked because Greg Galding is on. Yeah, the top 12 is locked. Like, we already know who's going to be in the playoffs. Nobody has to worry about not making the playoffs. Greg Galding is the closest. I think he had like a second place finish at Talladega, and everyone hyped him up. But he's had a decent season, outperforming the equipment has been the theme ever since. The reason why you're seeing all these people outperforming equipment, getting good finishes, is sort of because Chip Ganassi, and who was the other one that pulled out? Who was the other team that pulled out?
Roush pulled out.
Roush and Chip Ganassi. Another one I think
Chip Ganassi pulled out.
Both pulled out. That took out roughly 4 competitive cars. But still,
if you want to call the 60 competitive.
True.
Do we really want to call that car competitive? Come on.
You guys had, but yeah, that's a good point.
Oh yeah, it is true that Chris Buescher won a championship in that 60 car.
Yeah, he did. He very much did. Nobody else really. We don't really care. And just a quick gander at the Gander Outdoor Truck Series. I'll check the chat real quick, though. Carmi says, sounds like me getting second place often in sim racing. Consistent second places. That is very true.
Yeah. Second place every time. I swear to God with him. Second place every time.
Grant Enfinger is leading. I mean, I literally have not watched a Truck Series race since I don't think I even watched since Martinsville. I think it was the last time I watched one. Actually sat down and watched one. Maybe seen bits and pieces of some. Stuart Friesen, he makes his own cars too, I believe. It's a small team. He's in second place with 508 points, just a little bit behind Grant Enfinger. Brett Moffitt third. He's looking great. I'm just going to name them off. I can't talk about their seasons, to be honest. Matt Crafton fourth, Harrison Burton fifth, Ben Rhodes sixth, or Austin Hill. A lot of people didn't like him coming in and replacing Brett Moffitt, but he has not been terrible. Obviously not as good as Brett Moffitt was last season, but he's got a win to his name, and a Daytona win, but a win to his name, and has not been terrible in that car. He's got sponsorship is the reason he took it. And then the cutoff line is Todd Gilliland driving for KBM. Greg Biffle comes back from being gone for I can't think of 3 years maybe. Wins a race equipment, and Todd Gilliland is struggling to make the truck playoffs. Okay, love that. Sheldon Creed driving for a relatively small team in 9th. Johnny Sauter 10th. Johnny Sauter 10th. What?
Johnny Sauter 10th. Okay. I had to double check that when I saw that, but Johnny Sauter 10th. He actually missed a race.
He missed a race, and I think he's had some DNFs in there, but he's got to win, so he'll be in because consistent point system. The top 2 drivers have 0 wins and are not guaranteed in, but somebody chilling in 10th is not in, and then
you also So Johnny Sauter.
Todd Gilliland's not going to make it. He's not going to be in it.
Todd Gilliland's actually taking a look at this. I mean, you want to take a look at the playoffs? We have Johnny Sauter with a win. He's in. Tyler Ankrum with a win. He's in. Ross Chastain with a win. He's also in.
Oh, okay. So let me take a look
So you have to scratch off Todd Gilliland. He's out. Ben Rhodes. He's out. And Harrison Burton is also out.
Trucks. I mean, and that's not fair to say they didn't make the playoffs, in my opinion, because they did make the playoffs in technicalities, and points wise. But Todd Gillen, there's no reason he should not be that he should be on the cutoff line. Harrison Burton,
No.
he's somebody I think actually has potential. This is his first season. I'm giving him a pass for this season. He seems to have been close to getting some wins, but I also want to point out Benjamin's his last name. His first name is Beyond Me. Came in his first race at Iowa, dominated the first stage, and ran into some issues beyond his control, but really outperformed both of those cars or trucks. Outperformed both those trucks, and I forgot to point that out when we were talking about the two. But I think Todd Gillen needs to be out of that car, in my opinion. I think he's had his run, he's had his chance, and now it's time to give it over to Benjamin or another good driver.
Yeah, Todd Gilliland's not looking good in that 4-car and 4-truck, rather, I should say. He needs to be doing a lot better than this. And yeah, like I said, we got Johnny Slaughter, Tyler Ankrum, Ross Chastain, all with wins. So you figure that means that 3 people that would be in the chase have got to get kicked out. So that means that Gilliland gets kicked out. Austin Hill's with a win. He stays. Ben Rhodes, he needs to get kicked out. Another driver that has 0 excuses to make it in. And, Harrison Burton also needs to put his teeth down on the curb here and get stomped on because, look, I understand it's your first season, but you got to do better. You got to do better than this in this top equipment. You really, really do got to do better than this. And they're not performing up to what they should be. Todd Gilliland's definitely not performing up to what he should be. And I don't know where Kyle Busch is finding some of these drivers, but they're bad. They're bad.
Gilliland, I can remember back to his K&N days. He won in 2 seasons. He won 13 races and won a championship both years. Obviously, I'm not saying that should translate to the trucks. I'm just pointing out how good he was in the K&N series, now ass he has been, to say the least, in the truck series. But we got another comment here from Carnby. He says Chip Ganassi Racing has basically moved on to sports car racing and IndyCar.
They're still strong in NASCAR, man.
Yeah.
Chip Ganassi ain't going in, and Chip Ganassi has 2 strong drivers, one of which is a serious contender to win the championship in Kurt Busch. Don't discount Chip at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're quite out. He seems to have high intentions of putting Ross Chastain in that car, which, in my opinion, you put him in that car, he's going to be a championship contender.
I don't think he's going to be a championship contender right away. I think the first year he goes into that car, I think he does about as good as Larson is doing this season. I think he's going to be around 14th to 16th in average finish. He's going to have his DNFs. He's going to need to adjust. Once he gets 1 or 2 seasons fully under him, I think he can be a legit championship contender. But he's not going to have success right away, I don't think. But give him a couple of years. I think Chastain gets it.
The way he is able to look like he is driving he's hell of a lot outperforming the KBM Motorsports cars. He looks like he's in a KBM car. He looks like he's beyond a KBM car, to be honest with you. I mean, he's really gone in that truck series and is outperforming just about everybody.
Yeah. Well, you can be really good in the truck series. You can be real good in the Xfinity series. You can come up to the Cup series and do nothing.
Right. But if you look he's outperformed the premium motorsports equipment too. I mean, everything he's gone to, every place he's gone to, he's gotten more than results. I mean, he's and like you said, it's going to take time to adjust. He probably won't right away. I think he might yoink a win from somebody or something like that. But but I think once he, I think the sky's the limit for Ross Chastain once he finally gets into equipment.
I think he's got phenomenal potential. I think he's got championship winning potential. He's just got to be given 2 or 3 years, and I think he could be something. But until he's given that time, I don't want to jump on him yet. Like, has he done phenomenal in trucks? Absolutely. Has he done phenomenal in the Xfinity series in the couple of times he's run that? Absolutely. But trucks, Xfinity, Cup is a whole different ball game, and we've seen it time and time again where these drivers just do very, very well in Xfinity. I mean, take a look at how well Erik Jones did in the truck series and how well Erik Jones did in the Xfinity series. And the only thing he's had to show for that in the Cup series is a win at Daytona. So, I mean, Erik Jones, like, straight up dominates the truck series, straight up dominates the Xfinity series. And then he comes up to the Cup series and he's, So, give it time.
Mm-hmm. And he has plenty of time as he is only 27, and that's weird to say because he's been in the sport for a very long time as well.
Yes, he has.
I mean, I think he's been in it since he was my age, 16. But he's been around for quite a while. But moving on, just on a negative note here, unfortunately, the passing of Nick Harrison. He was the colleague racing the 11, Justin Haley's crew chief. He passed away at 37. I'm not sure what happened. Do you have any?
I tried to search for details. Unfortunately, I don't have any. As far as I understand, Nick was a very popular personality among different drivers and different teammates and all this other stuff. He was crew chief for a lot of drivers coming up. I know he worked with Austin Dillon in particular. And, he got along with everybody there down in the back. And it's really sad to see someone's life end so suddenly. It's always a sad thing to hear about this stuff, but we gotta push on. We'll get through this. This is obviously a huge hit to Kaulig Racing, who not too long ago had a 1-2-3 finish at Daytona. So they really rode the highest of highs then, and they're now in the lowest of lows after this death. So, it's been an up and down season for Kaulig Racing, and I only hope the best for the family and the drivers and the teammates involved, that they are able to move on past this. And, honestly, I hope the best thing that can happen here is if Justin Haley comes up on this road course stretch and goes ahead and wins one of these road course races.
That would be a storybook ending right there. And I would
absolutely.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'd probably cry if that happened. But yeah, hearts out to everybody at Kaulig, all his family, and Justin Haley as well. But moving on to more futuristic, or no, actually, not yet. We're not getting to the 2020 silly season just quite yet. We're going to talk about the Paul Menard Harrison Burton situation. And Burton has not actually done too bad in the Xfinity series. I mean, it's been kind of average if you look at the other drivers besides Kyle Busch in there, but that is not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Paul Menard. How old is he? 37, 38, 6?
Is he really that old?
Mid-age, to go with his
he's 38.
average.
Wow.
He's about an average age for his average finishes, his average talent.
Average everything.
He's like, oh yeah, you know what? I'm gonna come down into this Xfinity race, and I want to race. Okay. He races. All right. He's doing good. I think he was battling for Harrison Burton for a while. Harrison Burton's like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna give him a little tap. You know what? Paul Menard's like, no. He says no, and he just completely
dumps him,
uncalled for, dumps the 18, ending the very promising day for Harrison Burton. He was having a pretty good day, getting a lot of experience, and that was, I mean, in my opinion, completely uncalled for, especially when you're supposed to be the one with the maturity, and it's just uncalled for. I guess he's just not used to being in the top 5, top 10, top 20. For that matter,
top anything.
Not used to being competitive, and he couldn't handle it. But yeah, that's just something that's crazy to me. That you over, whatever. Moving on.
Go ahead.
No, No,
Well,
go
I
ahead.
was just gonna make a quick comment here because I looked at the Harrison Burton and Paul Menard incident, and it's honestly difficult to tell. Paul Menard said that was intentional. I don't know how intentional it really was because it looked like that.
It was
You
too
know,
bad to me.
I mean, it didn't look. He says that it's intentional. It looked like that he got really tight in the middle of the corner, ended up drifting up. But obviously he's thinking in that, oh, I'm going to lose the car in the middle of the corner. Oh well, Harrison Burton's right there, and just puts it right into him. But
Hmm.
I don't think initially, anyways, he went into that corner thinking that he was going to dump him.
Right.
But once, because he did pretty noticeably lose the car in the middle of the corner. But once he realized that, oh, Harrison Burton's right there, and I'm losing the car, I'm taking him with me. But then he ends up saving it, and Harrison Burton ends up being the one that plunks the wall. So it's unfortunate that Harrison Burton's day had to end like that. Paul Menard shouldn't have been racing like that, anyways. He's the established veteran. He should know his place, and yeah, that's not a good way to race. It's a very classless way to race, and not good for Paul Menard. It's not a good look for Paul Menard at all, especially considering that he could be on the bubble for a driver change, not necessarily next year, but coming for 2021. He could be potentially on the bubble here for, say, Austin Cindric coming up. So it's really not a good look for Menard, and everybody, as soon as Menard made the move, I mean, everybody just rained down on him and being like, oh, well, he doesn't deserve to be in the Cup Series. It's all his dad's money. And they just poured out on him. And I'm looking here like, Paul Menard's having the best season of his career, and people are still raining down on him like this. That is just insane to me to think that, this is the best that Paul Menard has ever done, and people are just throwing all of the shade they possibly can at him. I kind of feel bad for the dude because, yeah, it was definitely a shady move, but they start insulting his whole career and whatnot. It's like, come on, guys. There's some point where you gotta, tone it down a little bit.
Yeah, but staying in the Xfinity series and talking about 2020 here, Tyler Reddick had something to say. We are working hard on the next Cup race regarding his 2020. Working hard on the next Cup race, just as of right now, it's up in the air. We've just got to make it all fit together, and when it does, obviously, we'll let everybody know. Trying to piece next year together, too. We'll see what happens. A lot of year left, actually, but it's that time of year when the questions start getting asked. So we'll just try to keep running the best that we can, and it's going to happen or it won't. We'll see what happens. He said
Right.
happen a lot there. My
Yep.
contract
So we'll see.
just this year right now. I think there's options here and there and whatnot, but I don't want to get into those details. We're working hard. We want to win a championship. Kind of just reiterating the stuff he just said.
So Tyler Reddick probably not going to be to the 31 next season, from what we're hearing there.
Yeah.
I think that's a smart move. I think that's a good move, even though Tyler Reddick's done phenomenally here, finishing third pretty much every single week. Even though he's finished third every single week, he hasn't necessarily gone up there to really lead the races. And that's a little bit of a concern to me. You can play, Tyler Reddick, he can play consistency. He can finish third, fourth, fifth, all he wants. But if you're going to play the role of jobber to the stars, that's usually a warning sign that they're not going to translate over to the Cup Series very well. So I'm a little concerned with Tyler Reddick. He can clearly run the car consistently. The only concern that I have with him is that, he's honestly struggled to go up there and actually compete with Custer and actually compete with Bell. He's just kind of been lingering there. I don't know if he's just because he's playing it safe for the playoffs, trying not to tear up equipment. I don't know what's going on. I know for a fact that Bell and Custer are trying to drive the wheels off their car every single week. You can see it in the way that they race. But I think Tyler Reddick is more okay with, you know what? Let those two guys race. I'll just sit back here, third, fourth, fifth. I'll take my points. They end up wrecking. That's to my advantage. And I like that strategy. It's just, it's not a strategy that's going to translate over to the Cup Series very well. So I'm just a little concerned about Tyler Reddick because of that. Other than that, I think he is Cup ready. But we'll just have to see what happens through another Xfinity season. If he does just as well, I think promoting him to the Cup Series is going to be the correct thing to do. But right now, I think Tyler Reddick's kind of just playing it a little safe.
And I think when you look at Austin Dillon, somebody who can't get a consistent result, Daniel Hemrick, somebody who I think as he develops, he will probably get more consistent results. But at this point in time, he's not getting consistent results. I think getting somebody who can consistently get you top 15s, I think that's what Tyler Reddick really can be in the Cup Series. I think that's something that RCR could really use right now. But yeah, if I'm not opposed to him staying another year in the Xfinity Series, especially if that means we get a Cole Custer, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell. You know I'm excited for that rookie of the year.
Yeah,
I want to see that.
Here's the thing. You bring up Daniel Hemrick, and that is really a very apt comparison. You take a look at Daniel Hemrick's 2018 season. 16 top fives, 23 top tens. That is a pretty good top 5, top 10 slash for anybody. 0 wins. He comes up to the Cup Series in the same team that had just had an average finish of around 15th with Ryan Newman. They're struggling to break the top 20 week in and week out. So I kind of see the same thing here with Tyler Reddick.
Yeah.
So that's why I pull up that warning flag, just a small warning flag, that he's probably not going to perform as well as you guys think he's going to do. But I think given enough time, he could work it out.
All right, we got a couple questions here from Carnby, but I'm quickly going to turn on my light. All right, so Carnby asked, are the aero packages going to be better for Chevy and Ford? This year, Toyota is dominating. And
well, this doesn't have to do with the aero package.
Yeah,
it more has to do with the body.
Just the body. I think that's what he meant, but
yeah. So Toyota dominates. Why I didn't think this was going to happen, why I didn't put this into the no shit barrel, I have no idea. But Toyota domination is just Toyota domination. Kyle Busch does really well in a low horsepower package. Martin Truex is Martin Truex with Cole Pearn. Cole Pearn's a phenomenal crew chief, and he's able to elevate Martin Truex up to a level that he really shouldn't be competing at, but he is. So whatever, if Cole Pearn gets him results, Cole Pearn gets him results, but nobody's gotten him results before Cole Pearn. So that's good for him. Good for them. So you figure they're going to do well. Denny Hamlin, after going the entire season winless last year, which has never happened before in his career. That was the first time he'd ever gone winless in his career. Even his terrible 2012 or 2013 campaign, I can't remember which one it was one of those two where I think he had 5 top 10s. He at least won Homestead that year. His average finish was worse than 20th. Terrible season. He at least got a win that year. He had no wins last year, which is just baffling to think because Denny Hamlin is one of the most consistent drivers out there. 0 wins. And he's come out, I think he's got 3 wins this year. So he's clearly figured out whatever the wins issue is. And then you go over to Chevrolet. They just knocked out 3 wins in a row before today. Mm-hmm. So Chevrolet's starting to find speed in their own right. The big question is Ford, and they've just been up and down because the big Ford teams are the Stewart-Haas cars, and they have not performed this year. The Penske cars, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, they've performed. They've run the hell out of their car. Logano's the points leader. So
as well, much like
yeah, exactly. So they've done well. The Stewart-Haas cars just haven't had the speed so far. So, and you know what? Maybe a lot of it might have to do with Kurt Busch leaving. Kurt Busch leaves the team. They're slower, and all of a sudden, Chip Ganassi's lighting up the number one car. So that might have something to do with Kurt Busch. I don't know, but clearly, there's at least a little bit of a correlation there with Kurt Busch leading, Stewart-Haas not doing well, and Chip Ganassi starting to do well with that number one car. That's at least what I see.
I kind of see that too. Right, I was thinking about that after Kentucky. I don't think I mentioned it last week, but Kurt Busch's absence has seemed to shift the balance of Chip Ganassi, a team that was looking like Stewart-Haas this year, but a little bit worse. And now Stewart-Haas is kind of, I'm seeing what you're saying. Yeah. And we got another comment here from him. He says he doesn't like seeing Chevy lose. They've always been the dominant teams, not anymore, it seems. That rhymes. But
yeah, Hendrick's not been good.
In my opinion, it's just kind of Toyota's time right now. I mean, Chevy's been kind of the median, I would say. And Ford have been going back and forth. This season looks like Chevy has kind of taken second from Ford, but Ford obviously just won, so who knows? But yeah, I mean, I don't like seeing Chevy lose. Chevy's my favorite manufacturer, but I just think right now it's just kind of Toyota's time. They're kind of taking the mantle that Chevy had back when you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Like Chevy, when you take a look at the 80s, 90s, 2000s, man, with the exception of a few years in the 90s where the Ford Thunderbird was just ridiculously OP and needed to be nerfed.
OP.
No, seriously, there were a couple years in the 90s that was seriously ridiculous with the Fords. Chevrolet pretty much dominated all the 80s, at least the mid 80s on. Now that was pretty much all Chevrolet, a little bit of Pontiac, but pretty much all Chevrolet in there. And then you have pretty much again all Chevrolet through the 90s, and then through the 2000s, you have Joe Gibbs, Rick Hendrick, Chevrolets dominating through the 2000s. And then you end up flipping over to the 2010s. Joe Gibbs has gone to Toyota, but Rick Hendrick's still getting a bunch of wins. It's still Chevrolets. It happened at around 2014, 2015-ish that the Toyotas really started coming alive with the Joe Gibbs cars. That's when they really, really started coming alive. And ever since like 2014, 2015, the sport's been pretty much all Toyota. So it's been a dominating time for Toyota. Absolutely. I don't really see this slowing down anytime soon. Certainly Coach Gibbs, he ain't going to be slowing it down anytime soon. He might be in his 90s, but he don't give a damn. He's going to be trying his ass off to make sure his team's the best that it could possibly be week in, week out with his 5 cars out there. So, Joe Gibbs, he has no intentions of slowing that team down. Toyota's got no intentions of slowing down. So, and they've got 2, if not 3 of the best drivers right now in NASCAR with Kyle Busch, Martin Truex, and Denny Hamlin. You go with them, you're going to have a really good time. It's just a time that Joe Gibbs just has the best car with the best drivers, and when that ends up happening, your team's going to end up be dominant, and that's what's gone on here.
Mm-hmm. And I think one thing with Hendrick and why you've seen, and I'll get to your comment again here in a second, another comment he's made. I think with Hendrick right now, they're in a development phase, and I know this is I make a lot of analogies with basketball. That's the best sport I can really compare it to because that's a sport that I know a lot about. But you see teams rebuild. I think that's what Hendrick is kind of in right now. I think they're in a rebuilding phase. Yeah, they were, the top of the top of the sport just a little bit ago. But
can't stay the top forever.
They have gone young, if you will, tanking, if you will, and they seem. I mean, all of their young drivers have improved this year. And Johnson,
Byron especially.
So yeah, Byron, he's leapfrogged from last year. I mean, he's better than
Byron was.
to improve.
Yeah, Byron got put in that car last year. I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing in the Cup Series? Like, seriously, Byron just the fact that Byron was in the car at all just angered the hell out of me. I'm like, why are you rushing this 20-year-old kid to the Cup Series? Just keep him in the Xfinity Series for a couple more years. Good Lord, why are you rushing this kid, putting all this pressure on this kid who's still in college, for God's sakes? You know, the pressure all got to him, and he was given not good equipment, and he didn't do well.
Yeah.
Like, look, who could have gone and figured that? But he's done way better this season than last year. He might actually make the playoffs this year, which is insane to think.
Make the playoffs, in my opinion. But yeah, I definitely saw an improvement, but not this much of an improvement. Chad Knaus can definitely take some of the credit for that, or probably a little bit more than half.
It's a little bit more than some, you know.
I think William Byron is a talented driver that once, assuming Chad Knaus goes off on his, assuming they don't, you know, keep them together forever. I think once Chad Knaus leaves in the next year or two, assuming that happens, I think William Byron will be able to continue and improve on the production that he's seeing right now.
And I when I saw that crew chief change, I was all for it. I'm like, you know what? Give this struggling young driver the best crew chief in NASCAR right now. You could say whatever you want. Chad Knaus, you know, 7-time champion, 80-some wins, the best crew chief in NASCAR right now. Like, probably not the best crew chief ever, because then you have to start talking about Dale Inman and Ray Evernham. You know, you gotta start putting those two in there. Once you start talking about, you know, greatest crew chief of all time. But Chad Knaus is probably in that top 5. And he's clearly a phenomenal crew chief, and he's really helped this young driver through what's more than likely been a very difficult phase through what he's gone through. And I've seen a drastic improvement out of him. He's not finishing worse than 20th every single week. He's actually getting up into the top 15. He's actually getting into the top 10. So they're making inroads. They're not there yet, but they're making inroads, and that is a good thing to see.
And remember, they're in the same equipment as Kasey Kahne, and in my opinion, doing better than that of the 5 car.
Yeah, well, you got to consider Kasey Kahne was also sick during that last season as well, so that kind of compounds things. So Kasey Kahne being sick plus the car not being all that great equals 1 win at the Brickyard, obviously. So it's hard to say who's really doing better and who's not, but Kasey Kahne, you know, his health was obviously not doing well there in those final couple of seasons that he had. And now William Byron's taken over. Did worse the first season, but he's really started to prove this second season. I hope Chevrolet continues to improve as a whole. If they continue to do it, man, they look pretty good for Homestead.
And like I was saying with my rebuild thing, I swear after this,
they are. They're rebuilding.
I think in the next couple of years they will look a lot like they used to. I'm not sure who that 4th driver will be, and maybe he'll be another sort of rebuilding project. But I think Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, Byron maybe needs a couple more years, but I think those 2 drivers will be the top 2 drivers into the future and will be competing for championships soon. Chase Elliott maybe as soon as this year, Bowman in the next couple of years, and William Byron soon enough will
give him about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I would give him a little bit extra because, you know, Bowman and Chase have been around for a while. Byron is 21. So I think he has plenty.
Chase and Bowman aren't aren't too old either. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they're not old,
I'm
but
pretty sure they're in their early 20s too.
yeah, they're both. Chase is 24 and Bowman's 27, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I'm not saying they're old, but they definitely have been around longer. Bowman, especially, has been in a lot of different situations. But last thing here on Hendrick, I do want to say, and it's about Bowman. I think a comparison that I see his career going out as is Denny Hamlin. I think he's going to be somebody who can get a lot of wins and
Yeah.
have like an explosion of a season. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to finish out with a championship. He could. Hamlin still could finish out with a championship, but I see Bowman having a
Yep.
career similar to that of Hamlin. He's going to get probably quite a few wins.
I see it being very similar. Then say, I see a very similar thing with Bowman here, where I think he's going to be a consistent driver. It's going to be a career arc very similar to like a Denny Hamlin or a Dale Jr. or a Ricky Rudd, where they're up there. They're going to be good for 1, 2, maybe with the outlier of 3 wins, but they're gonna be up there. Give them 17 to 20 top 10s a season. They'll be consistently a top 8 in points driver.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I kind of see Bowman as
sneaking a championship. Who knows?
Yeah, it could very well just have that one breakout season where he ends up getting 6 wins in a championship. That can definitely happen.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking about that the other day. I don't know why it just popped in my head just now, so I mentioned it. But finally, getting to Carnby's comment, he's probably been sitting here about 20 minutes for me to talk about this. He said, "One day I think Dodge might come back, but that's a big might." Reminder that Fiat owns Chrysler, so only Motorsports Dodge does is drag racing NHRA. They've pulled all motorsports programs, which sucks.
Yeah, Dodge ain't coming back anytime soon. It's a sad part, but Dodge ain't coming back anytime soon. If there's going to be a new I said it before, and I'll say it again. If there's going to be a new manufacturer, it's going to have to be like a Nissan or a Mercedes or an Aston Martin or something like that. No, some kind of foreign car with an already established V8 program. Mm-hmm. Honda, they don't want anything to do with NASCAR. They've made that perfectly clear. So Honda's obviously out. Toyota obviously already in. I'm trying to think of any other foreign manufacturers that even care about making V8s because everybody is going twin turbocharged 2.5 liter V6s now.
Like we said last week, in order for Dodge or any manufacturer alike to make an entrance or re-entrance in Dodge's case to the sport, there's going to have to be you're going to have to lower the cost of making a car, and how they're going to go about doing that, only God knows. So we'll see how that turns out. They seem to be dedicated to that, but again, we'll just have to see
how
that turns out. We have gone completely off track of the 2020.
Yes, we have. Anyway, circling back around.
Talk about last thing, we got some more stuff here from the comments. We got to talk about the comments here. Got to give the comments some love. 8-bit, aka 8-bit 88 says, "Yeah, baby, Harvick wins. I'm so bleeping happy." We got to keep it PG for the kids here. And then Carnby says, and I'm kind of happy for him, but I'm not a big Harvick fan, so I'm not crazy.
Yeah. Fair enough.
And Carnby says, they pulled the Viper program long ago. Ask Devin, he'll vouch that. I got mad when that happened.
Yeah, that's a different discussion for a different racing series.
Mm-hmm.
But really getting back on track here about Kyle Larson.
He has confirmed that he will be driving the 42 car next year. I don't think anybody really questioned his ride, but he has confirmed that he will be in the 42 car. And Kurt Busch, another Chip Ganassi driver. We have some also another manufacturer mentioned by 8-bit, said Mazda was another one.
Mazda could be a possibility. I think that's an outside possibility, but they could absolutely.
Here's the quote from Kurt Busch, and I found this very interesting. He said, "It doesn't matter if I'm driving in 2020 and beyond. It would be what I'd want to do to help a program or give my knowledge and to be a part of a team to make things work here for 2019 and continue to improve whether I'm driving or not to help all of Ganassi. It's just a matter." I thought Ganassi was spelled wrong there for a second. It's just a matter of if I'm driving or I'm not. I'm still going to do my job to make sure we are progressing and pushing toward the future on what I believe is important, and they want to do that, and what they want to do is to apply it and what they believe is important. And I have to listen to. Okay, sorry, I can't speak. A little run on here. He says, "You're asking me all these fun questions when everything is on a high, when everything is great, and we're coming out of victory lane, and having fun scavenging rides home and just living at the top level. We'll see how things all piece together. I don't have all the full answers, but things are pointing in the right direction to be teamed up together and to continue to race and win races." And to run at a championship. I mean, I haven't thought about other than through your question. Thought about that but I'm able to make a run at the championship that could change things as well, and that wouldn't happen until the week of Thanksgiving.
Right. So here's the thing with Kurt Busch, man. And I could see it going one of two ways. Either Kurt Busch makes the final four, makes a run at the championship. I don't think he'll win it, but I think he's got a good shot at making the final four. If there's any Chevrolet that's going to make it, it's going to be him. So Kurt Busch, let's say he ends up making it all the way to the final four. I don't see why he wouldn't stay with Ganassi, and I don't see why Ganassi would, even with way that things are going right now. I don't see why Chip would not go out of his way to try to re-sign Kurt Busch,
And it doesn't look
because
like Monster has any plans of leaving him either.
yeah, Monster doesn't have any plans of leaving Kurt Busch either. So Kurt Busch, he's got a long-time sponsor. He's going to be bringing in the money. He's obviously got a ton of knowledge, a ton of veteran knowledge that is going to be very useful for the team. He's clearly got an ability to be able to turn an entire program a complete 180. We're talking a team that wasn't even making the playoffs last year to a team that might actually make the final four. So we're talking here, Kurt Busch has done an amazing job in this one car. And I think it would be it would baffle me if they were to part ways at the end of the season. I mean, if Chip wants to put all the eggs in the Ross Chastain basket, he can go ahead and do that. But I really think that's going to end up being a mistake, because Kurt Busch is just doing so well right now in this number one car. And especially if he ends up making the final eight, or God forbid the final four, there should be absolutely no reason why they don't keep him for another year. I think it would be stupid on both ends to reject it. I understand Kurt Busch, he just wants to run. He doesn't care where he runs. He just wants to run in a cup car. I don't blame him for that. So the cards completely lie with Chip here. And if Chip doesn't want to re-sign him after what he's done so far this season, I think that's crazy. Unless he has a completely terrible rest of the season where he doesn't finish better than 15th for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see why you wouldn't resign him, especially after this rate. I think that would be nuts to not go out and try to resign him.
And again, like I said earlier, the sponsorship, and you said when he gets in there, you don't know about taking the championship. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I would not be surprised if Kurt Busch wins this championship. He's the guy who would sneak into the final four, maybe not even sneak in. I mean, he has a win. He can get more wins. He can definitely turn it around and look like a championship favorite. But who knows? But we got another comment here. This is silly season related. We know Kurt Busch is soon to retire, which is something I had forgotten. That he probably is getting kind of close to retiring. But what about Kevin Harvick? We don't want him to win, but he's getting up in age and will retire soon.
Both Kurt Busch and Kevin Harvick, yeah, they're on the wrong side of 40, but I don't think they plan on stopping racing anytime soon. Kurt Busch, you already heard from him. He has no intentions of stopping anytime soon. I think Kurt Busch is going to race until he's 50. God honest with you, both Kurt and Kyle Busch are going to race until they're at least 50. They're not going to stop racing. And if they stop being competitive at the Cup level, they're going to go down into the Xfinity. They're going to go down to the Xfinity series and they're going to run their own stuff. Like
Yeah.
they're gonna be our generation's Morgan Shepherd, pretty much. Morgan Shepherd's a completely different thing because Landon Castle goes out with Morgan's car and just shreds up the field, which is amazing. But that's besides the point. We've gone well past Xfinity at this point, but Kurt and Kyle Busch, I think they're two people that are just going to race forever.
Yeah.
Kevin Harvick, it's a little more interesting with him. We'll have to see what his plans ends up being. Again, he's another driver that's on the wrong side of 40. He hasn't slowed down at all, obviously. Stewart-Haas having a little bit of a regression this year, but no one's really going to take away from what he has done over the last 10 years of NASCAR has just been absolutely insane. He's got the NASCAR record, at least in the modern era, for the most amount of top tens in back-to-back seasons with 55, which is just utterly insane. He's one short away of the single season top 10 record held by Jeff Gordon. He's one short of the top 5 record, also held by Jeff Gordon. So, he had an unbelievable, 2010 phenomenal season, 2011, 2012, and then since then, he hasn't dropped under 20 top 10s. He's gotten 21, 20, 28, 27, 23, 29 in 4 seasons in a row.
That's crazy.
That's nuts. That anybody could go out there 27, 28, 27, 23, 29 in 4 straight seasons.
That's insane.
That is just how good. And I don't think a lot of people point towards just how good Kevin Harvick has been.
Mm-hmm.
He has been unbelievably good, especially ever since going to Stewart-Haas. He has been consistently the best, if not the best, either the best or second to Kyle Busch.
Mm-hmm.
There's really no other way to describe it other than unbelievably consistent. And consistent is really a good way to take. You take a look at Kevin Harvick's DNF rate. It's actually the lowest out of any driver in the Cup Series. That is just another mind-boggling thing that you have to get your mind around, that Kevin Harvick has the lowest DNF out of anybody in the Cup Series. He's run more laps than anybody in the Cup Series. So I don't think he's gonna slow down anytime soon. Harvick's gonna be around for several more years to come. He's gonna retire when he wants to as well. He's not gonna be pushed out due to a lack of talent.
No.
And I almost kind of cursed
either.
Yeah, not Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick. They're never going to be pushed out due to lack of talent.
Mm-hmm. Well,
imagine
at Chip Ganassi, but I don't think he should.
I don't think they should. Just imagine what Kevin Harvick could have been if he hasn't been with the dumpster fire that is Richard Childress Racing the first 2/3 of his career. If he wasn't with Richard Childress, and he's just been in this Stewart-Haas equipment his entire time, or like Hendrick equipment,
something
Harvick. Yeah. I mean, we would be talking about Kevin Harvick and Jimmy Johnson sharing those titles. It's nuts, just how good he's been. I can't see Harvick leaving that 4-car. I cannot see it happening. If anybody's going to leave Stewart-Haas, if anybody's in danger, because you have Eric Almirola. He's pulling in the sponsorship money, and he's reasonably consistent. Kevin Harvick is just a racing god, and there's really no way around it. You have Daniel Suarez pulling in tons of money with his sponsorships from Eris, because I think his dad actually owns that. the only odd driver out there is Clint Boyer. Who's Cole Custer going to replace out of those four?
It's going to be Clint Boyer.
It's
Easiest.
really going to be Clint Boyer.
But he's the easiest out of the four to replace.
I believe so.
But we got another comment here from Cardenby. Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong.
You're good.
Would be nice to see them race until they're 70 years of age.
Look at Morgan Shepherd.
Pretty same age as his car number. Actually, is he actually? I think he's pretty old. He's up there. He's in his 70s, I believe, 80s.
Yeah.
Still racing though. I think I actually saw something that said he is coming back to Nashville. He'll be racing there.
Awesome.
So that's
now
for him. But moving on to Erik
Jones.
For about the 16th time this year, he says he's close to re-signing with Gibbs. He says we've had some good meetings, positive meetings, so we're going in the right direction. I mean, how many meetings do you have to negotiate a contract for real?
It depends. It depends on how many wins Christopher Bell gets in the Xfinity Series. Let's be honest here. Every single time that Christopher Bell gets a win in the Xfinity Series, Joe Gibbs needs to put another meeting on for Erik Jones to go ahead and be like, okay, Erik, what do we need to do to keep you in this 20 car? You know, oh my God. Erik Jones, man, I feel bad for the kid because he got put on such a high pedestal because of the way that he dominated the trucks, dominated the Xfinity Series. He's come up to the Cup Series and he's done nothing. He did nothing in the 77. He almost had that win at Bristol, but then he even got beat out by his pseudo teammate in Kyle Busch. And then he ended up going to the 20 car. He got a win at Daytona. Cool. We thought that would give him confidence to turn it around. It has not happened. And you take a look at the improvement for Erik Jones, and you figure it just hasn't happened. You see the improvement from his rookie season to his second season, from 17 to 14. You're thinking, all right, big improvement. 18 top 10s last season. Let's go out there. Let's go compete for a championship. And he's out there fringe on the championship with an average finish of about where he was last season. And if there's one thing that Joe Gibbs doesn't stand for, it's mediocre, unless it's JJ Yeley. But we don't talk about JJ Yeley here. Joe Gibbs does not stand for mediocre for long. And I know that Denny Hamlin hasn't gotten a championship, but he's been phenomenal. Kyle Busch, he didn't have the championship for the longest time either. Should he have won the championship? You know, you could put the asterisk around the 2015 championship all you want. He was the best driver last year, so, and he's the best driver this year. So let's just award him both championships, whatever. I don't care. You take a look at Daniel Suarez. Daniel Suarez was the definition of mediocre in the 19. He got cut. Truex got put in. Joe Gibbs does not stand for mediocrity in his team one single bit. Erik Jones, if he continues to stagnate like this, he is on the hottest of the hot seats right now. He's really the one that is in danger of getting cut from his ride. Like you gotta figure that he's really struggling a bit in this 20 car. And people say Erik Jones is going to stay in the 20 and Christopher Bell to the 95. I think, honestly, the most likely thing at this point is that they're going to open up the 59 car, kick DiBenedetto to the 59, kick Jones to the 95, and then bring in Christopher Bell to the 20 if they're going to send him to the Cup Series. So we'll see what happens here with Erik Jones, but he is in boiling hot water as of right now, if you ask me.
I think he has to get a win first just to consider, keeping him in the 20 car.
Yep. Yeah, he's got to win
today, but just didn't seem to have the car. But it's really all about silly season. Really about any news in the Cup Series and any series for that matter. Any last words you got to say?
No, I don't really have any other last words. The only other thing that I really have to say is, we're I just want to know who the doofus was that decided to schedule Kentucky, Loudon, Pocono back to back to back. Whoever made that schedule needs to be fired immediately.
Well,
Don't put us through that torture ever again. No, not for 2021. You already have us doing 600 miles at Pocono in one weekend. Good God.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Definitely the same person too. Yeah.
Whoever made those schedules needs to be fired.
But
that's my only comment
to point out about Erik Jones is he well, now I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, it's really just going to depend upon his season. I forgot what I was going to say. It's actually an interesting point, but I forgot it now. But yeah, it's really next week we're at, like you said, Pocono. Not really sure he's going to do well there. Probably Kyle Busch again. He seemed to have a fast car, probably using the same car as he did last time. So Blaney's he got a win there. Don't know if that means he's really been good there, but he's got a win there. So
all right. So looking ahead towards Pocono. Oh boy. It's the August Pocono race, and the second Pocono race is always a wild card. The first Pocono race, that's more towards our dry season. So that tends to be a little less chaotic. We're definitely in the full summer wet season now, although, like I said, as of right now, it's looking pretty sunny, high of around 80-something for right now. So the forecast is looking pretty good for that Pocono race to stay clean for the most part. So, and if it does end up staying clean, let's be realistic here. No one's beating Kyle Busch. No one's beating Kyle Busch. I'm not even, I can't even be hopeful about it. There's no reason to be hopeful about it. No one's beating Kyle Busch.
Unless he wrecks or something happens to his car. That's the only way you're beating Kyle Busch.
Yep. That's about all I can say.
But yeah, I'd say Kyle Busch is probably the favorite. Dark horse, I guess I'll pick Ryan Blaney. I guess we do top threes. I was thinking another
top three.
Discord server I'm in. Top three: Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney. Keselowski usually does good here. I feel like Keselowski. We do it kind of too early.
Keselowski doesn't do that bad.
Get into we don't really get all the info from practice. So I guess I'll pick those three, and a dark horse pick. William Byron. He did good. He had a fast car last time, so I guess we'll pick William Byron as our dark horse here.
Obviously, I don't have the time to go ahead and fire up my entire algorithm to see, because I used to do fantasy NASCAR. Not too long ago, and I used to have this entire spreadsheet that I would fill out.
I got to interject.
If I actually did it for
Brian France was probably the one that did it, and that would be a Brian France mood. That would definitely, but he has been fired, or at least is not dead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He had nothing to do with NASCAR anymore, that's for sure. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look here. I usually like taking a look at laps led, average finish. Taking a look at this, it actually seems pretty unanimous. I'm going to pick a top three: Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex. Don't think you can really go wrong with that.
Yeah.
Kevin Harvick coming off of a win. Kyle Busch, 3 wins in the last 5 Pocono races. Martin Truex, he's the other person with the win. And, of course, Ryan Blaney, the other guy with the win. So, yeah, I'm going to go Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex. Dark horse, Pocono is not a race for dark horses, my friend. Wow. Lots of mediocrity to choose from here. I'm just gonna say that just on a wildly chaotic note, I say Aric Almirola gets a top 5.
Hey, I mean it's a bold prediction for a reason. And last year, who do you think is going to have an off week? I think think we're actually right. Didn't we say Clint Boyer last week, or did I say Keselowski?
You said Keselowski. I think I did say Boyer, so I
So
was kind of right with Boyer.
right. I was iffy. He was like
Yeah.
10th. I mean, somewhat, but yeah. Who do you think?
Yeah.
Mine is going to be. I'm gonna go with Hamlin. I think that's a safe pick because he had such a good race and he just is inconsistent. So
Hamlin's another real good driver at Pocono. If that race goes clean, Hamlin's finishing in the top 10. So
okay.
I don't know about that. As far as an off week, as much as I really hate to say
I'll look
this,
it up real quick.
yeah, as much as I really hate to say this, I'm gonna have to go and say that Newman's probably gonna have the off week. He's got the momentum on his side, a couple of top tens in a row. Well, 3 top tens in a row actually, and 5 out of the last 6 races have been in the top 10. I don't think he makes the top 15 for Pocono.
All right, I don't know why I'm making this such a tough decision, but I'm going through the results right now. Let's see.
Yep. Yeah, that's who I'd go with for an off week is Ryan Newman.
Yeah, I would say because the ones I was thinking of didn't really have that good of a week last week, and for this to really be an off week, so yeah, I'd say Ryan Newman for the same reason you said. But lastly, here is Carnby. He said, I was here to support Devin, but I'm glad I got you good topics to talk about and help the channel active, keep the channel active and lively in this podcast. Thank you for that. That was very much appreciated. It's glad having somebody, kind of a third input there in the chat, give us stuff to talk about. But yeah, that's really all I got. You said your final words, your last words.
Yep. I don't really have anything else to say. It's New Hampshire. Race sucks.
Yeah. I'd say probably gonna fall asleep during the Pocono race next week. We'll see. I think Pocono is really the only one worse than New Hampshire, and we have them back to back. So.
I'm sorry. You said that there's a race going on at Pocono? I'm sorry. I didn't even realize.
I was like, was he? Is he? But that's all I got. If you guys are new, make sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a like if you guys enjoyed. And once again, thank you to everybody in the chat who kept the podcast interesting, like Carnby said. And that's all I got. I got a couple videos for this week, so see how those go. And any shout outs?
No, I don't really have anything else to say. I mean, I just uploaded a new race to my channel today. I finally got around to recording that.
The description, my bad.
Yep. No, that's fine. Honestly, like I said, I literally just uploaded it right before the New Hampshire race, so I expect like 0 views to be on this video when I go ahead and check it.
Yeah.
So it's still gonna be real fresh. Plus, it's Michigan, so if you miss it, I don't blame you. It's Michigan. You can't make Michigan interesting even in a video game. So. Yeah, that's all I could say. It's Michigan. Race sucked. Same thing as New Hampshire. Race sucked.
Mm-hmm. Once again, thank you guys for watching, and that's all I got. See you guys next week. Hopefully, Chenry will actually show up. He's missed the first 2 comebacks when he was there at the beginning, but glad to have Devin here on the show. And hopefully he'll be back next week. That's all I got kind of spaced out there. See you guys in the next one. Peace out.